welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to dig into Depop. Our mission, really, based on some key industry analysis, is to figure out why people keep calling it a lifestyle movement, not just, another app for selling stuff. We want to get past the usual marketing talk and see what actually makes it tick, what makes it innovative. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with that user experience everyone talks about. It's often called a mix of Instagram and eBay. That seems right, but what's the real insight there? What's underneath that?
Well, the insight is really about the design choice. They deliberately chose to focus on aesthetics and social connection, maybe more than just pure sales volume, especially for, the Gen Z crowd that really values authenticity and visual stuff.
Ah, okay.
So unlike those older platforms where you just browse lists of items, here you're often browsing people, their feeds. And that feeling of connecting directly with a seller who's curated this whole vibe, almost like a mini brand, that's the clever part right at the start.
Right. But if it's so reliant on the social look and following people, doesn't that kind of open it up to, influencer overload, fake engagement? Doesn't that risk undermining the very authenticity you just mentioned?
Yeah, that's a real tension. And the analysis we looked at definitely touches on that. Saturation is a risk, for sure. But the way it's set up still seems to benefit the buyer because the sheer variety is huge. You get these really rare vintage pieces next to super niche handmade accessories, things you just wouldn't find elsewhere.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is how this focus on authenticity actually helps both sides. Sellers get to build a real brand, a following, sometimes, turning something they love into a proper business. We saw research mentioning specific examples, sellers really scaling up.
Like a real business, not just clearing out a closet.
Exactly. And buyers, they get access to unique stuff, things that aren't just churned out by mainstream stores. It adds this element of, discovery, makes shopping exciting again.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It seems like we're moving beyond just, I bought this, you bought that. It's about an underlying movement, isn't it?
Absolutely. And yeah, the conversation about Depop nearly always kicks off with sustainability. Giving clothes a second life, pushing back against fast fashion, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But looking deeper, there's an interesting side effect. The platform's success has kind of professionalized reselling. You see analysis showing that with the high volume, a lot of sellers aren't just selling their old clothes anymore. They're professionals. They're buying stock specifically to resell on Depop.
So does that sort of dilute the whole sustainability angle if people are buying just to resell?
It does create a bit of a paradox, yeah. But you
Right.
could argue it still channels spending away from brand new mass-produced items, so maybe the net effect is still positive. Plus, the platform really empowers these newer professional sellers. The infrastructure is key.
Infrastructure. How so?
Well, the analysis points to things like how easy they make custom bundles or negotiating prices directly between users. That peer-to-peer interaction is smoother, more secure than you'd find on, say, basic classifieds apps.
Right, less friction.
Exactly. And that whole setup, the easy communication, the secure payments, reliable shipping support, it acts as a real stepping stone. It's huge for young entrepreneurs who might not have the cash or the know-how to set up their own big e-commerce site from scratch.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together, the curated social feed, this focus on micro brands or individual sellers, and the logistics support. So what does this all mean? What's the big picture for our listeners?
I think it means Depop has genuinely built something different. A modern marketplace where buying stuff is tangled up with identity, with community. It's really setting a new benchmark for how fashion resale can be about more than just transactions. It fosters individuality, creativity. It's acting like a career incubator for some people, alongside being this buzzing social network. It really did change the game for secondhand.
So thinking about that success, this hybrid of social network and marketplace, how might other areas, other e-commerce sectors that are usually quite separate, like say specialized electronics or maybe even business-to-business sales, could they adopt some of Depop's focus on community, on self-expression? Could that revitalize their platforms? That whole idea of turning every seller into a potential brand, not just someone with inventory, that feels like a pretty significant strategic shift to think about.